Hey friends, Lucian here with the Bullish Bears team. Wanted to make this video on the Gravestone Doji. Let's talk about Gravestone Dojis. Now, Dojis are indecision candles in general, but then there's other ones like Gravestone Dojis that tell like a specific story. If you zoom in here, you'll see they have an open and a close price that are almost identical, and then they have a long upper shadow that shows like that the bears are looking to take control. Now, typically, you'll see Gravestone Dojis in an uptrend showing a potential reversal that it's going to fade, but many times you'll find them in a downtrend as well. Again, not all patterns and candlesticks are perfect. You have to look at candlesticks and then look at the patterns and see what they're telling, story they're telling, but many a times the story will reverse. So, this one right here, Amazon right here, you can see this Gravestone Doji in the uptrend. And you can see right when it's overextended, RSI is overextended over here, showing a Gravestone Doji, and then you can see what happened after that. Price just kind of faded and got really messy. So that's a Gravestone Doji. That's a real good example of one. They're not always going to be perfect, and they're not always going to look the same. You can see like this right here. Some of these, like might look like a Gravestone Doji, but they're an inverted hammer or just a doji in general. See, like it's not the same. This is not the same, but it's got like a kind of similar type of, style of what's going on. You can see right here, that's close to one up here, but it's all part of a series of like, doji candles. You got to understand what, just candlesticks are in general. Don't like overthink things. Again, you got to see the pattern within the pattern and see, okay, this stock was in an uptrend. It was overextended. It's due for a pullback. This would make sense, right? This indecision candle showing the bears are in control, showing like, hey, we didn't want to push this stock down. It just kind of makes sense in the bigger overall picture of things. So don't necessarily bog yourself down and what candlestick looks 100% accurate, because they're not always 100% accurate, or like what they look like. So don't, just get an idea of what it's what story it's telling, but not like, hey, this is 100% the way a Gravestone Doji should look. You look at the big overall picture. So let's look at a couple more here, or a few more. The SPX, you'll see one right here. SPX is moving. This is kind of very similar to that one with Amazon, a little bit smaller. You can see if I zoom in here, a little bit smaller, but as you can see, it was overextended in the RSI. Part of a, was bullish, kind of a flag or a flagpole moving up, needed to consolidate and come back. And obviously this one pulled back just like it was showing, like it was overextended, showing, kind of in the overall big picture what it should be doing, but it continued from there, right? So doesn't mean it's always going to completely fade. You can see this one right here. This is a smaller one over, let me move over here a little bit more. Kind of a smaller one right here. And it didn't fall. It stayed, it held its line here right at the 9 EMA, and it continued further, right? So let's look over here. So you can say, this is similar looking to this, but not necessarily it's like an inverted hammer, but it's still telling the story of the bears wanted to take control and push price back down. So you can see how patterns can look very familiar, but they're not going to be exact. So just be aware overall of the big overall picture, and again, not totally bog yourself down. Gravestone, so this one moving up in an uptrend. Again, price is overextended. Got up at a peak here, Gravestone Doji, and as you can see, it started to fade after that, right? Not always going to happen, but many times it's a very early warning sign of, hey, we want to potentially reverse up here. Price is overextended. Bears are kind of wanting to push things down, so they want to try to take control. Let's look at a few more examples. INTC, Intel Corp. So this one right here, as you can see, so this one was kind of overextended, pulled back. Now that Gravestone Doji happened right, as it's falling down a little bit more, right? And then it still continued to fade. But you got to look at the big overall picture. This is not a great sign, especially when you see this after this red candle here, right at a important moving average line. That's not a good sign, and obviously it was an early warning to it fading. Again, doesn't mean it won't, keep going. As you can see, it kind of had two more candlesticks after that, and a green one after that. So you could say, oh, okay, maybe this is a bull flag going to go up, continuation. But nope, it faded. So just got to always be aware of things, MSFT. So this one again, kind of moving up, Gravestone Doji, but it's kind of like you can almost say that's even a doji in general. So again, want to show you ones that like, is there a little wick underneath there? There might even be a wick right there. So you can be like, oh, what is it? Is it a Gravestone Doji? Is it a doji? Well, just be aware of the dojis create some indecision. As you can see, is moving up. It was overextended, wanted to pull back. Obviously needed to pull back. It did, and then eventually kind of faded a little bit. But just be aware of these, and just not, again, we try to tell people, don't bog yourself down in making, worrying about, is the pattern exact. You want to see that, just be aware of these doji candles, what they're doing, the overall big picture, and the patterns within the patterns, and seeing why it's creating that indecision, because these candlesticks tell a very important story. This one right here is Visa in an uptrend. As you can see, price is overextended, getting towards a peak. Gravestone Doji, early warning sign. And what did it do? Kind of got a little bit wacky and funky over here, and then it faded, right? But you can see stuff like this, like that's, could be an inverted hammer. It's close to what a doji or Gravestone Doji looks like. But you got to see, okay, why is that happening? Well, it's in an uptrend. It's starting to get a little bit overextended. It would make sense of how it or why it wants to pull back a little bit. So don't be like, oh, is this a Gravestone Doji or an inverted hammer? Just know that inverted hammer or a Gravestone Doji is telling a similar story of the bears want to take control and kind of push price down a little bit or a lot, depending on what's actually happening. And let's go to Walmart here. Another one, just kind of like, again, you can see many times these happen right when a stock is overextended. You can see it's kind of pushing up a little bit, getting at its peak, kind of faded down here after that Gravestone Doji, but then look, it popped right back up and continued up again. But it's just showing you a warning sign. Hey, we want to kind of take control. Bears want to kind of push price down. Look at the big overall picture, candlesticks in general, and again, just be aware of what story that they're trying to tell.